What if I told you that some postal employees end their career as multimillionaires? And I'm not talking about postmasters or high-ranking government officials who receive six-figure salaries. I'm talking about everyday workers who receive an average American salary. How do they do it? Sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? Well, stick around to the end of this video and I'll show you how it's done. What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode. Today we switched it up and we got a banger for you. All right, guys, so in September 2023 there were 94,000 TSP accounts with either $1 million or more inside of them. Guys, I'm not a financial advisor, so take this as my opinion, okay? I'm just a guy on YouTube and I use information that is freely available on tsp.gov. So yeah, what's this video going to be about? So basically what we're going to talk about is what is the TSP, who qualifies for the TSP, what are the employer matches, type of funds you can invest in if you have a TSP account. And lastly, and the most important reason why you're here at this video is try to determine how much money you're going to need in retirement, right? And how to become a millionaire, right? Because that's the goal, right? Get $1 million or more and, you know, have that financial FU money. Okay, so guys, what is the TSP? All right, and I know this video may be redundant to those who already know what's going on here, but if you're not, if you're new into your career, or even if you've been in your career for a while, stick around. I guarantee you there's going to be something here that's probably going to help you out. So the TSP is a defined contribution plan. Okay, it means that the retirement income that you receive from your TSP will depend on how much money you put into your account with your working years, okay, accumulated over time. All right, so the TSP offers the same type of savings and tax benefits that many private corporations offer in a 401 plan. Okay, guys, so this is basically a dollar savings average plan. Okay, every paycheck you're going to take a certain amount of your paycheck and you're going to put it or allocate it into your TSP. All right, so who qualifies for the TSP? Okay, so basically, if you're a FERS employee, okay, the FERS employee is the retirement system for federal civilian workers. If you're covered by the FERS retirement system, the TSP is one part of a three-part retirement package that also includes your FERS basic annuity, aka your pension, and your Social Security. Okay, I'm not going to be talking about your pension or your Social Security in this video. Okay, if you want to determine your number for retirement, you can actually use all three parts to determine how much you actually need to save in your TSP to reach millionaire status. What I'm going to do in this video is just show you how I am on path to reach $1 million without Social Security or without the FERS annuity. Okay, if you're a FERS employee hired on or after October 1st, 2020, your agency has automatically enrolled you in your TSP and 5% of your basic salary is deducted each pay period. Okay? If you began federal service between August 1st, 2010 and September 30th, 2020, you were automatically enrolled at 3%. All right? That's for the FERS employees. Okay? If you're in the civil service employees are a retirement system for federal civilian employees who were hired before January 1st, 1984. Okay? If you're a civil service employee, your account is established by your agency after you make your first contribution using light blue. Okay? You have to make a deposit into TSP to create an account. Okay? The government's not going to create it for you. All right. Another thing about civil service, you guys do not receive a matching contribution. Okay. All employees receive an automatic contribution of 1%, but you will not receive any matching contribution. We'll get into that in a little bit. CCAs. Okay. Technically, CCAs, you are not a FERS employee yet. Especially it's 2024, so the civil service doesn't apply to you. You are not a FERS employee, CCA. So part of your benefit package by becoming a regular is the TSP. To me, it's the greatest thing that the Postal Service offers us if you know how to use it and you use it from the beginning and you use it well and correctly. Okay, however, your union, the NALC, offers a CCA retirement plan. Okay, and it's designed for CCAs to supplement your pension. Okay, so you're going to make a small payment while you're young and you can receive the money in monthly payments when you retire. But under this plan, you can also request to transfer it into the TSP once you convert. Okay, as a CCA, I didn't know about this. So basically, CCA money is big money because you're not paying any other deductions. So you're able to take more out of your check and put into this retirement plan. And then once you convert, you can do the proper paperwork to migrate that money into your TSP. All right. Okay, the employer matches. So for FERS, if you're a FERS employee, the government puts in 1% automatically to everyone's TSP. It doesn't matter if you contribute or not. They're automatically going to put 1%. Then they match dollar for dollar on the next 3%. On the next 2%, they match 50 cents on the dollar. So basically, they're going to put in 1% automatically. And then if you put in 5%, they're going to put in 4% to increase their total contribution to 5%. All right. I know that's a big mouthful. So again, they put 1% in automatically. Then if you put in 5%, their matching accounts for 4%. All right. So in total, they're going to match you 4% and they're going to automatically give you 1%. So it's 5%. So if you put 5%, they put 5%, you're getting 10%. Okay. The first 5 is yours. The second 5 is theirs. That's the free money. Okay. That's the employer match. That's what you have to do at minimum. If you don't invest any more money for the rest of your life, make sure you put 5% of your money to get their 5%, because that's 100% return on your investment. Civil service employees, you guys can also contribute a specific percentage of your basic pay each period, but you do not receive a matching agency contribution. Okay, so you could put 5%. I'm pretty sure you're going to get 1% automatically, but you're not going to get the extra dollar for dollar match on the other 4% that FERS employees get. Why? Because I believe your pension is worth way more than ours. And when they implemented FERS, it was more as it's a defined contribution. So defined means it's up to us to provide for our own retirement. You guys have a strong pension. Okay. How much can you contribute to the TSP in 2024? Okay. So the IRS sets the limits every year under federal law. And this year, the most that you can put inside of your TSP is going to be $23,000 from your elective deferral limit. So that means straight out of your check, you can put $23,000 by the end of the year. Okay. If you're 50 or older, or you're going to be turning 50 this year, you can put an additional $7,500, which is considered a catch-up contribution. All right. But keep in mind that there are maximum combined contributions per pay period. All right. So that's based off of how much money you make. We're all on different steps, so we could contribute a different maximum contribution each week. All right. If you want to see your current contribution and you want to see your current contribution max, and if you want to see how much money you're putting in and how much, if you wanted to change it, go to light blue. Okay. Then go to the employee app section. Okay. Then go to postal ease. And then finally go to the thrift savings plan. All right. Scroll down, then press continue. Now you're going to see how much of your percentage you're putting each pay period into your TSP. Now what you're going to see there is that there's 2 different types of account offered through the TSP. Okay. So you're going to see the Roth TSP and you're going to see the traditional TSP. Okay. So let me explain them. So the Roth TSP means that your contributions are made after you pay taxes on your money. So you're not going to owe any other money when you withdraw these funds in retirement. Okay, so the earnings are tax-free if you meet the IRS requirements. For example, if you make $100,000 this year and you put $10,000 into your Roth TSP, you're going to be taxed this year on your W-2 at the full $100,000. But when you retire at age 59 and a half or older, you're not going to owe any other money on this investment because you already paid. Okay? So any money that this money makes you, you don't have to pay taxes on because you paid the taxes up front. Now, the traditional TSP is what most people are enrolled automatically in, because in order to do the Roth TSP, you have to go into light blue, like I said, and you have to change things around. Okay, the traditional TSP is just that. It's traditional. So your contributions are pre-tax, meaning that you're not going to pay the taxes on them today. Okay, so usually after retirement, after the age 59 and a half, you're going to pay the taxes, and you're going to pay taxes on the money that money made you. Okay, so you get a tax break today. All right. So for example, if you made $100,000 this year and you put $10,000 into your traditional TSP, you're going to be taxed like if you only made $90,000. Okay. But now in retirement at age 59 and a half, you're going to be charged tax on that $10,000 plus whatever money it made for you over the 30 years that you had it in the TSP. So the TSP offers certain funds where you can choose to invest your money. So the TSP is the account. And now with the money in the account, you got to choose where to put it to make money for you. All right. So there are a certain number of funds, and I'm going to go through each of them. So this might take a while. All right. So if you want to learn how this money turns into money, this is it right here. So we're going to start with the lowest risk funds all the way up to the high risk funds. All right. And I'm going to give you a brief description of each of them and who would want to invest in these funds and who wouldn't. All right. So the first fund is going to be the G fund. Okay. So the G fund is a low risk fund. Okay. And it stands for the government securities investment. Okay. So the G fund investment's objective is to ensure the preservation of capital and generate returns above those short-term U.S. securities. The G fund is calculated by the U.S. Treasury as the weighted average yield of approximately 191 U.S. Treasury securities on the last day of the previous month. Okay, you should consider the G fund if you would like to have all or a portion of your TSP completely protected from loss. If you choose to invest in the G fund, you're placing a higher priority on the stability and the preservation of your money rather than on the opportunity to potentially achieve greater long-term growth in your account through investment in other TSP funds. The payment of the G fund principal and interest is guaranteed by the United States government. This means that the U.S. government will always make the required payments. So the G fund is I'm going to make basic inflationary protection of my money. Okay, so in 2024 year to date, the G fund has produced 3.65%, just under 4%. So if you had $100 in there, you made $4. Okay, the G fund protects your money. It keeps up with inflation, but it's not going to make your money grow. The next fund is going to be the F fund. Okay, it's a low medium risk fund. It stands for the Fixed Income Index Fund. Okay. And the F fund's investment objective is to match the performance of the Bloomberg U.S. Aggregate Bond Index, a broad index representing the U.S. bond market. The F fund tracks the Bloomberg U.S. Aggregate Bond Index, a broadly diverse index of the U.S. bond market. On December 31st, 2023, the index included 13,334 notes and bonds. Because the U.S. aggregate contains such a large number of securities, it is not feasible for the F fund to invest in each security in the index. So in periods of falling interest rates, the F fund will experience gains from the resulting rise in bond prices. So in the long run, you may expect F fund returns to exceed those of the G fund. However, you should also expect greater price volatility, and a retirement portfolio that contains stock funds like the C, S, and I funds, along with the F fund, will tend to be less volatile than those that contain stock funds alone. F fund investors are rewarded with the opportunity to earn higher rates of return over the long term than they would from investments in short-term securities such as the G fund. The overall risk is relatively low in comparison to certain other fixed income investments in the market because the F fund includes only investment grade security. All right, so guys, the F fund is basically investing in bonds and notes. Okay, some of these could be government bonds. They could be bonds issued by different countries. The F fund returned this year 1.93%. Okay, so a little under 2%. So it did half of what the G fund did. The G fund did a little under 4%. Okay, so these are the two safe. Okay, if you never adjusted your TSP allocations, you are probably in these two funds. The biggest mistake that people have, they work 20, 30 years in their career and they see that the money that they put in only earned $10,000 or $20,000 off of all of these years. It's because they were in these protected funds. They didn't lose any money, especially if you're in the G fund. You didn't lose any money, but your money only kept up with inflation. Okay, so now those were the low risk funds. Now these next funds I'm going to speak about are stock funds. These are going into the stock markets, which means they have a higher risk associated with them. However, it has a higher reward associated with them. Okay, so the C fund is a medium risk fund. Okay, it stands for the Common Stock Index Investment. The C fund's investment objective is to match the performance of the Standard & Poor 500. Okay, so the S&P 500, which is a broad market index made up of stocks of the 500 large to medium-sized U.S. companies. Okay, so the C fund follows the S&P 500, which contains stocks like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Nvidia, Google, okay, you get it, Tesla, Berkshire Hathaway, JP Morgan. Okay, the 10 biggest companies in America, those basically hold the S&P 500. So if you invest in the C fund, you're investing in that. So that's when you look at the S&P 500 every day. If that's green, that means you made some money in the C fund. Okay, the C fund can be useful in a portfolio that also contains stock funds that track other indexes, such as the S fund and the I fund. By investing in all segments of the stock market as opposed to just one, you reduce your exposure to a market risk. The C fund can also be useful in a portfolio that contains bonds. A retirement portfolio that contains a bond fund like the F fund, along with other stocks like the S and I funds, will tend to be less volatile than one that just contains stock funds alone. If you wanted to protect the C fund, you'd probably put it with an F fund or a G fund, or if you were more risky, like me, you'll put it with a S fund or I fund, which means put all your money in the stock market. I don't offer financial advice. We're not there yet. No, I would never. But I will tell you what I'm doing with my money as we get to the end of the video. The next fund is going to be the S fund. Okay, the S fund is a medium to high risk. Okay, now we're getting a little risky. Now we're playing with the money. We're gambling. Okay, so the S fund stands for the Small Capitalization Stock Index. S fund's main objective is to match the performance of the Dow Jones. Okay, the Dow Jones U.S. Completion Total Stock Market Index. Okay, so that's the broad market index made up of stocks of small to medium U.S. companies who are not included in the S&P 500. So these are companies like Snowflake, CrowdStrike, Workday Incorporated, Marvel Technologies, Block Inc., Apollo Global Management, Cheniere Energy, Ferguson PLC. Okay, and the Dow Jones is another one that you see every day. If you see the Dow Jones in green, that means you made some money. When Trump, the next day after Trump won the election, the Dow Jones went up. So a lot of people made a lot of money that day. The S fund can be useful in a portfolio that also contains stock funds that track other indexes. The C, the S, and the I funds, for example, track different segments of the overall stock market without overlapping. By investing in all segments of the stock market as opposed to just one, you reduce your exposure to market risk. All right, guys, so the S fund made 12.35%. Okay, so just over 12%. The C fund made 21%. Okay, the S&P 500 almost doubled. The S fund made 12.35%. Okay, higher risk, higher reward. Okay, guys, and the most volatile fund, the most high risk fund that the TSP offers is going to be the I fund. Okay, me personally, I would never touch it. I don't have not a penny in it, but some people like the risk of putting their money overseas. So the I fund stands for the International Stock Index Investment. Me personally, I know nothing about what's happening in China or Europe or Australia, so I wouldn't put my money in there. And those countries is where this index measures. It tracks the performance of Europe, China, Hong Kong. Okay, so some of the companies that you're going to be tracking with that index is a Taiwan semiconductor manufacturer company, Novo Nordisk. I think they're the creator of Wegovy and Ozempic. ASML Holding, Samsung Electronics, Nestle. Okay, AstraZeneca. I know that's a pharmaceutical company. Shell Oil, SAPSE, Roche Holdings, and Novartis. Okay, so it's overseas companies that maybe Louis Vuitton, and Toyota, things over the sea that are produced in different countries. The I fund can be useful in a portfolio that also contains stock funds that track other indexes, such as the C fund, the S fund. Okay, by investing in all segments of the stock market as opposed to just one, you reduce your exposure to market risk. The I fund can also be useful in a portfolio that contains bonds. A retirement portfolio that contains a bond fund like the F fund, along with other stock funds like the C and the S funds, will tend to be less volatile than one that just contains stocks alone. Investment in the I fund offers the opportunity to experience gains from equity ownerships of non-US companies because it represents the stock of large, medium, and small companies in more than 40 developed and emerging market countries, excluding the USA. It is an excellent way to diversify the stock portion of your TSP. Okay, guys, so those are the big ones. Okay, the G fund, the F fund, the C fund, the S fund, and the I fund. Those are the big five. Then in the TSP, there are certain other funds that I'm not going to go into them, but I'll briefly explain what they are. So you have the L funds. So the L funds, each of the 11 L funds is a diversified mix of the 5 individual funds, the G, F, C, and I funds. They were designed to let you invest your entire portfolio in a single L fund and get the best expected return for the amount of expected risk that is appropriate for you. So what they do is they take in effect what year you're going to retire. Okay, so someone like me, I'm probably going to retire in 2065. Then what it's going to do is put my money in very aggressive funds. Okay, so it's going to put in the C fund, the S fund, and the I fund, the stock market funds. It's going to put like probably 70% of my money in those funds for a certain amount of time, maybe 10 or 20 years. Then as I get older, it's going to turn the money into more conservative funds. Then it's probably going to put it in a C fund, a G fund or F fund, okay? And then it's going to balance out. It's going to put like 50% in bonds, 50% in stocks. Then as I get older, it's going to put more money into bonds and less money into stocks. So the L funds are designed that way, okay? You don't have to pick anything. You just put your money and you let it ride. Then they have the mutual fund window, which is actually very new to the TSP. I don't know anything about mutual funds. So I'm not really going to offer any opinion on it, but I will read this. It said the mutual fund window is an option designed for TSP participants who are interested in greater investment flexibility. If you meet certain eligibility requirements and pay the necessary fees, you can choose to invest a portion of your TSP savings in your choice of the available mutual funds. All right, guys, so there you have it. Those are the funds that you can put your money into. All right. So now let's talk about fees. Okay, how much are the fees for the TSP? So if you had an individual retirement account or outside brokerage account, you see those fees advertised at like 1% or 2%. And most people don't understand what a 1% fee could do to your wealth in the term of 30 years. 1% means that they're going to take 1% off of everything you made compounded off of 30 years. So 1% could come out to you losing maybe $200,000 off of $1 million investment in 30 years, right? So one thing about the TSP is that it is extremely low cost. The TSP expenses are lower than 99% of investment options, and it's true. So each fund has its own fee associated with it, okay? So the G fund has a 0.049% fee. So basically for every $1,000 you invest, you pay 49 cents. The F fund is the same exact. You pay 49 cents for every $1,000. The C fund, you pay 48 cents for every $1,000. The S fund, you're going to pay 79 cents for every $1,000 you invest. And the I fund, you're going to pay 54 cents for every $1,000 you invest. Those prices are extremely competitive. Just from the top of my head, if you wanted to invest in the C fund, which is the S&P 500 index, I know the most comparable S&P 500 index you're going to find is probably going to be VOO. And that index, the cost of it is probably $300 to $400 per share. Now that we're talking about price per share, the G fund price per share to buy the G fund through your TSP is $18.63 today. Okay, the C fund is $94.50. The S fund is $93.75. The F fund is $19.65. And the I fund is $43.44. All right, guys. So basically, we went over the cost of each share. We went over the fees of each fund. But now we're talking about buying shares and holding shares. And okay, how do I get my money? You know, I put all my money in here. Now I need it. So how do I take my money out? So that is a little controversial, right? So when you invest in the TSP, one thing that you have to remember is that we are investing for the long term. Okay, if you take your money out before the age of 59 and a half, you will be charged a penalty fee, an early withdrawal fee. Okay, so if you keep the money in there and you take the money out after retirement, you're fine. The only fees you will pay is taxes, and the only way you're going to pay taxes if you had your money in the traditional TSP. If you had your money in the Roth TSP, you're fine. The early withdrawal penalty is going to be if you receive a TSP distribution or withdrawal before you reach 59 and a half. In addition to regular income tax, you may have to pay an early withdrawal penalty equal to 10% of any taxable portion of the distribution or withdrawal not rolled over. So if you try to take out $50K, you're going to pay $5,000 as a fee on top of any taxes that you may owe on that. There's one way to get around that. It's called a qualified distribution, but that's only if you had money in the Roth TSP. The earnings in your Roth balance become qualified when two conditions have been met. Number one, 5 years have passed since January 1st of the calendar year in which you made your first Roth contribution. And two, you have reached the age of 59 and a half. You have been permanently disabled or you've deceased. So you have to be 59 and a half and you have to have had the money in there for 5 years to take it out. There's one other way that you can take money out of your TSP, but you're going to have to put it back in. This is the way that I would withdraw money if I ever needed it. I have taken it out this way, and I am currently in the process of putting it back, and that's a loan. Okay, so a TSP loan basics. As an active TSP participant, a current federal civilian worker or member of the uniformed services, you are allowed to borrow money from your TSP account. You repay the loan with interest and regular payments through payroll deductions. If you're still in federal service, or you pay it by direct debit or check if you've left federal service. The interest rate, which stays the same for the life of the loan, is the same as the G fund interest rate for the month before you request the loan. So I believe I took a loan when the G fund was like at 4-something%. So basically I'm paying myself back at 4%. The way that I put my money in the TSP, I'm actually a little more aggressive than that, but I'm still getting paid a little bit of interest on the money that I've taken out, and that's fair. There's also a one-time fee that comes out on the loan amount that you never return to the account, and that's going to be a $50 fee for a general purpose loan and a $100 fee for a primary residence loan. Okay, so you can take out up to 2 loans at the same time. They could both be general purpose loans. I've done that. I've had 2 loans out at the same time. Or you could take a general purpose loan and you could take a primary resident loan. Okay, guys. Again, these 2 options, you don't pay any fee associated with it. In essence, you do pay more taxes when you do it this way. Because if you think about it, if you put the money in and you pay taxes on Roth money, now when you pay it back, when you pay the money back, you're paying the money back with tax money. Okay. When you get your check, you've paid taxes in your check, and now the money from your check you're paying back to the TSP. So you almost get double tax if you really think that hard into it. Most people won't. Most people will think of it like a regular loan. Guys, if you max out both your loans and you still need money, at that point, I may say you want to go see if you qualify for a small loan at a bank. because your only other option at that point, if you really needed money, is going to be an in-service withdrawal. These withdrawals that you make from your TSP account while you're still working for the federal government can have a serious impact on your TSP account. Remember that the purpose of your account is to accumulate savings so that you have income during retirement. Withdrawals permanently reduce your retirement savings as well as any earnings you would have earned. Withdrawals may be subject to income tax and or penalties. And if you're married, you need your partner's consent or a waiver for you to take money as a in-service withdrawal. So again, you will be charged 10% on that. That's almost like a hardship withdrawal loan. It's the only way you can take money out if you're already maxed out on 2 loans. If you're maxed out on 2 loans, you can't touch any money. Those options, the early withdrawal and the in-service withdrawal, I would definitely steer away from them just because you're losing 10% in a fee on top of taxes that they're going to take out automatically. Okay. And then that's going to bring us to determining how much money you may need in retirement. That's strictly up to you. How you figure that out. What I use for my situation is the rule of 25, which basically is 25 times my annual income of what I would need to retire. So basically, if I need $60,000 a year to live off of, I'm going to multiply that by 25, which is 25 years. Maybe I'm going to live to 90. So I'm going to need 25 years of living expenses. The truth of the reality is I don't even need that much. I'm going to tell you why, but let's stick with it. So let's say I need 25 years worth of $60,000. That's going to be $1.5 million. The reason I don't need that much is because let's say my basic salary is $60,000. A good portion of that money I don't see today, okay? Because I'm paying health insurance, I'm paying life insurance, I'm paying dental insurance, I'm putting money into the TSP. I'm paying all these things that I won't be paying in retirement. Like I won't be paying TSP in retirement. So a bulk of my income that I'm putting away towards retirement now, when I'm retired, that will be free cash flow. Okay, so I'm not going to need 60, but I'm going to prepare to make 60 through the process that I'm working towards, right? So my plan is to use a calculator, which I've been doing. And there's simple calculators that you can find on Bankrate or any 401 calculator for that matter that works best for you. And then all you got to do there is play with the numbers, okay? Let me see if I can find my calculator really quick. And so essentially what I do is, if I pretend that I'm just going to make $50,000, right? And I'm going to say that for the sake of easy math on this calculator, I'm going to say that I'm only going to get a 1% raise for the rest of my life. Okay. And Brian Renfro will love that. You know, he could give us 1.3 raises all day and my calculator works. Okay. And I'm going to run 2 scenarios here just to show you guys. So if I got a $50,000 annual salary, I get a 1% raise every year. I'm going to contribute 5% out of my own money from my pocket to my TSP. We're going to say that I'm 32 years old, which I am, 33 years of me investing 5% of my income. Then what we're going to say is that my expected return rate, right? Let's just say I'm in the C fund and the S fund, and let's say I'm going to get 8%. Okay, that's fair, 8%. Let's say I have $0 balance on my TSP right now, and my employer is going to max 100% for the first 5% of my paycheck. And those numbers bring me to exactly $1 million. So I'm a little short. I'm a little short for my 1.5 million, right? So now instead of 5%, I'm going to contribute every month. Let me see what happens if I contribute 10%. Okay, all the numbers are the same, and I'm going to contribute 10%. There I go. I got my $1.5 million by me contributing 10%. Okay, and that's at a $50,000 average salary. That's an average American salary. And I just became a millionaire over the course of 33 years. But let's say I get more aggressive and I go 15% of my basic salary. That's not including overtime. That's not including penalty. That's the other stuff I make. That's for me. You know, that's the money I live off of as I'm working. This is coming straight off of my base salary. Let's put it up another 5% to 15%. And now we got $2 million. Okay, but now don't forget, that's saying that I'm going to be aggressive for 32 years. I'm going to stay in the stock market. Maybe I'm going to come down somewhere in my career, you know, but then if I wanted to be more aggressive, right? And this is just for argument's sake. What if I did 25%, right? Say I had no kids, I had no no mortgage payment. I had a lot of free income with a lot of young kids. If you're in your 20s, don't forget, I'm putting 32. If you're 22, you could get this money at 55. Okay, so if I did 25% of my check, that's $3 million, and that's at an 8% rate of return. Okay, now just for sakes, let's say someone started their career extremely late, and they're a CCA. They just converted regular. Now they're 50 years old, and they want to retire at the age of 65. They make the same $50,000, and now they want to retire with a little bit of money. Okay, if they're 50 now, they're going to be 65. Say they need $60,000 for 10 years. So they need $600,000. Can they get to $600,000 in 15 years? Well, let's see. Say they got a basic salary of $50,000. They want to contribute 10%. Their salary is going to raise 1%. They're going to be aggressive because they have to, because they don't have that much time. Let's see what that brings us. So in 15 years, they're only going to have $234,000. So that means if you're in your 50s and you want to make it to $600,000, which is going to give you 10 years of $60,000, it's going to provide you till you're 75 years old. You're going to need to invest more than 10%. Let's see, if we put 25%, that's going to bring you to $468,000. Still not enough. 30%. Now you're playing catch up here. So you got to put about 30% of your check. But don't forget, you're going to be making more than $50,000. You're going to get more than a 1% salary increase. And if you go into CNS funds, you may be more aggressive and you might get a better rate of return. So that's it in a nutshell, guys. So in closing, remember this: to become a millionaire through the TSP, you need to first understand the level of risk that you're comfortable with, as that would determine how you allocate your money across the different funds. Then consistency is key. Keep contributing, and over time, gradually increase your contributions. As you get raises each year, you'll be able to contribute more. And remember, the government will match a portion of that as well. The longer you hold your investments in a TSP, the greater the potential for growth. Of course, investing does come with risks, but one way to mitigate them is by continuing to invest, whether the market is up or the market is down. Each of us has a different risk tolerance, which means our returns will vary. So it might be wise to consult with a financial advisor to tailor your strategy to your specific needs and goals. Stay disciplined, stay informed, and you can see the rewards down the road. Essentially, with the calculator in place, okay, with your annual salary, our salaries are unique in the sense that we know what we're making. The only variable that we don't know is what happens during these contract negotiations. However, if you are early in your career, you can adjust for your annual salary increases. You can put the math down to a T. You can invest heavily for 10 years at 25%, reach $100,000, slow down, okay? Because in essence, the quicker you get the money in there, the longer it has time to grow for you, okay? On average, it takes a person about 10 to 12 years to save $100,000 in the TSP. But if you can do it in 7 to 8 years, which means like you're really grinding, those extra 4 years will prove to move you quicker. You know, it's easier to make money off of $100,000 than it is to get to $100,000. All right, guys. So yeah, I just wanted to share this video, kind of show you the process of how to become a millionaire with a $50,000 base salary. Again, guys, we will be making more than that in the future. So these numbers are going to be adjusted as you need them. The more we make, the quicker it is for us to get to that level. But also the more we make means inflation is higher, which means we're going to need just a little bit more. So keep that in mind. All right, guys, until next time, I'll be here. You'll be there. Peace.